What do you think about the current style that basketball is played? I'm sure different leagues are different, NBA versus the Canadian League. And like the European leagues, they also like we talked about this a little bit with Chad as well when he was on a pod, but the style and the training that kind of goes in versus like American versus European. What do you see like in terms of the world of basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played anywhere
Yeah.
really other than Canada and the
Yeah.
US for a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I know the NBA and versus like overseas in Europe, they're two totally different games,
Yeah.
right? Like you see all the NBA has all these different rules that they put in for the game to be it's entertainment,
Mm.
right? Like they have all these rules that make the game higher scoring with more dunks and more flashy plays.
Yeah.
Whereas in Europe they have less of that. It's more about like the fundamentals and stuff like that. So that's what you see all the time. Like you put these powerhouse NBA teams together, like Team USA. You got all these stars who like individually are probably way better than all these European guys they're playing. But yeah, it's a close game.
Yeah.
But if they were to play NBA rules, NBA guys would smoke them because it's completely different.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to see all the same game, just different versions of it.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Does that come down into the way that you train as well? Like being a bigger guy, are you kind of narrowed down to, okay, you're only gonna be a center, or you're only a point guard, so you're only gonna train in terms of that versus being maybe more well-rounded and being able to do all that?
I've been so lucky with my coaching my whole life. So my dad coached me growing up. My dad was a big believer in everybody does everything, right? So a lot of kids like my height when they were young are probably just throwing the post,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then they grow up to be 6'3", and you can't dribble or shoot, and maybe like on the NBA level. But if you want to play college, if you're 6'3", you got to be a guard,
Yeah.
right? There's no 6'3" centers playing college, right? And then, I went on to, again, work out with Matt Dick. Again, he worked at me as a wing. Like I work on my handle, I work on shooting, all these other things. And then I played, he was my high school coach as well. Then just through club, I played for a French guy named Hervé Vincent, who was huge in just the development of everything. On our team, the point guards would do post-up stuff with the bigs, and the bigs would do dribbling and shooting with the point guards. Like everybody did everything. He was my coach for like 3 years, and he was huge. He was kind of the first guy that really started to develop me as just a purely all-around player. I played on a different junior bison team with Marlon Krause, who again was a big believer in everybody shoots threes, everybody dribbles, everybody guards everybody. And then, then I got to the point in my career where I was just already had that baseline so much higher than anybody else who didn't have that kind of coaching growing up. So I was just so fortunate to have these people around me as a kid to kind of mold me into the player I am today, and not just stick me as a low post.
Yeah.
And
Are there any particular drills that you'll do in practice that you feel like have a direct translation onto the court?
a lot of my training that I do with Matt
Yeah.
is just game realistic. I think it was Jamal Crawford once had like a quote, like he's one of the best dribblers in the NBA, and like you can't simulate, like a cone doesn't simulate a 6'7" super athletic defender,
100%.
right?
True.
So when I do a lot of my training, it's less just dribbling through cones, more like 3-on-3 stuff, like with defense and just simulating live situations. And I just think that's the best way you can train, right? Like simulate game situations, right? It's different to practice finishing layups one on nobody versus one on a super athletic 6'10" guy coming over on the help side, right? So if you can practice with people coming over from the help side and actual contact, it's way better.
Yeah. And then I think that's where what you said before and what you've been saying through this podcast, playing against those better guys.
Exactly.
Right? Having that experience and learning from them, probably even, because if you just play against your friends or the people that you're good at, eventually you may outshine them. Or you may get to a level where where this person's abilities. Oh, this person can't go left, so I'm just going to force them left.
Right.
Right. But versus you changing it up, playing with people who have constantly elevated their game, you're at a point where you're elevating your